Good evening. You're welcome to Supreme Leverage for today. And how will be your host for today? My name is Olabisi Oshibawale, Key Stage 2 Coordinator, Junior School, Supreme Education Foundation Junior School. Today, we're going to be having Mr. Ayodele Awi on the show. And we're going to be looking. Mr. Ayodele Awi is a trained environmentalist, a certified project manager, career coach, capacity building expert, leadership strategist, and a public speaker with over 10 years of remarkable experience in project management. He's also a career consultant and is into capacity building. Since 2012, he has impacted thousands of young graduates, including NYSC Cup member, entry to mid-level professionals across the globe in the areas of project management, health, safety, and environment, environmental impact assessment, leadership development, career productivity, educational development, and so on. We can keep going on and on. You're welcome on the show, Mr. Ayodele Awi.
Thank you very much, Olabisi. Thank you. Pleased to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so on today's program, our Supreme Leverage for today, our topic is managing crises at work. Managing crises at work. How do we manage crises at work? I know you have a lot to give us on that for today, but we're going to be starting with this question: what causes workplace crisis? Can you help us with that first? What causes workplace crisis?
Okay, so generally, workplace crisis is a very common thing. You cannot have an organization and not have crisis. The moments you have more than two, three people in the same place, then it is inevitable that there will be crisis. And so, one of the major reasons, fundamentally, is because we have different perspectives. So, backgrounds vary, social beliefs vary, social status also vary, cultural and religious beliefs are also very different. And so all of these factors are responsible for seeing things in different perspectives. And that's basically the reason for crisis in the workplace.
Okay. Now, considering all of these different things that you mentioned, it's actually a lot to manage in workplace environment because it is inevitable, it is unavoidable. So, can crisis in
Absolutely.
workplace be avoided completely? Is there a way we can avoid crisis in our workplace?
Yeah, I think the right word to use for me would be that can we manage it? We cannot
Can
avoid
we
it. It
manage
is
it? Yes.
unavoidable. It is inevitable. It would always happen. In fact, I feel that if crises do not occur in the workplace, it is um, it is an evidence that there is a problem fundamentally in that organization. Because if people have the liberty to express their views and their opinions, then you would expect that crisis would come up at some point. So the absence of crisis can be a pointer to fundamental issues. Perhaps people do not even have the liberty to express their opinions, or people are not at liberty, or people are just not being themselves. So it is unavoidable. Crises happen everywhere, even in workplaces. But of course, crisis can be managed. And that's the importance, that's the
Manage.
goal, to establish protocols that help us to manage crisis such that the crises do not escalate to stages where we lose control of it or people are hurt or
Yeah.
affected. Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing. So we should look for a way to manage crises so that it doesn't escalate beyond what should be, what should be allowed in the workplace, in our offices.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
does personality type have anything to do with crises and its avoidance? Personality traits
Absolutely.
of the workers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So every behavior for people can be traced back to their personality traits. And
Okay.
there's been a lot of theories around personality differences and personalities of people, of individuals. But basically, um, this accounts for the way that people see things and react to situations. For instance, you would agree with me that you have two broad categories of personality types: the introverts and the extroverts. And in
Okay.
the extrovert category, you have the sanguine people and the choleric, while you have the phleg and the
Okay. Yeah.
melancholy in the
Definitely.
introvert category. Now, for these two broad categories, there are you can also classify them to two different. Some school of thought would classify them into two categories based on how they feel and how they think. So there are some people that are thinkers, some people are feelers, which means that some people, for them, it's all about how they feel. So they are not all about the facts. They are not always about the situations or whatever it is. They are people that are people oriented and they like to consider feelings. They take feelings very personal. So, for instance, the choleric kind of person, it's all about get the work done. Strict individual, very bossy, just wants to get the work done. It doesn't matter if you step on anybody's toes, so far as the goal is achieved, the choleric is happy. And you know, all of these personality types, we bring them into the workplace, and they are the motivations behind the way we act sometimes. And so you see, for instance, a sanguine fellow is very friendly, very
Yeah.
sociable, interacts with everybody, but then the interaction is always at the surface level. So a sanguine person does not really establish very deep relationships with people. A sanguine person comes into a room and meets with 10 different people, and at that
Hmm.
instance, he's talking to everybody. You know, he's funny, he's jovial, he's lively, he's interacting with everybody. And a male, for instance, can get into a misconception to think that he has found a friend in the sanguine. Because the moment the
Yeah.
sanguine leaves the room, everything ends there. So the sanguine leaves the place and he moves on. But males are people who want a deep interaction with you. They want to know that if you are my friend, you are my friend. I do not have too many friends, but if you are my friend, you're my friend. So all of these personality types are the reasons that people behave the way they do. And of course, they translate into our workplace culture, which of course can be attributed to crises at the workplace.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So, how do you think a subordinate, how can subordinates deal with superiors' unprofessional conduct at a workplace?
Yeah, this is one of the toughest realities in the workplace. So, because the workplace protocol sort of makes it difficult for a subordinate to stand up to the superior. A lot of times that can be seen as insubordination. That can also be
Okay.
categorized as rudeness of behavior and a lot of other things. So, but when you find yourself as a subordinate to a boss that behaves in an unprofessional manner, then it's a lot difficult to handle. Because if it goes the other way, for instance, if a subordinate is misbehaving, it is easier for the superior to call that person to order. But in a place where my boss is the person that is, you know, displaying unprofessional conduct, then what do I do? What do I say? And so this is one of the reasons why organizations must be guided by policies. I think part of the major issues in many workplaces is that there are no established policies. And so the
Hmm.
absence of these policies make it difficult for individuals to know what to do. I'll give an example. If I have a line manager and my line manager has a director, now my line manager is behaving in a non-professional manner to me. What do I do? If I'm unable to stand up to my line manager, there's an
Yeah.
established procedure for me to take the situation of the matter to someone who can call my line manager to order, or someone who can call both of us to a room and say,
Okay.
you have been reported on this issue. What do you think? What do you say about it? Somebody who can call both of us together and resolve the issue between us. And you would even agree with me that even if you are the CEO of your organization, the organization should also still have board members. that oversee the general affairs of the organization. So even if someone occupies the position of a CEO and the subordinates think that the CEO is behaving in a non-professional manner, there should be an established protocol or policy to take the situation to the board members so that they can call the CEO to order in such instances. So basically, the answer for that would be that there should be established protocols and policies within the workplace to guide such situations.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for that. That's amazing.
You're
And I'm
welcome.
thinking, are there organizations that are more prone to having crises more than the other? Maybe different workplaces based on what they do.
Um, it's quite possible. I would not say that. I wouldn't want to mention certain organizations that would say are very prone to crisis, but
Okay.
generally, I think it's dependent. There could be. It's possible that there would be some organizations that their activities would predispose them to conflict, to recurrent conflicts around issues. But whatever the case might be, for every organization, the most important thing is to learn about your organization, understand the nature of the conflicts that arise, and then be able to create mechanisms that can safeguard that organization, the operation of the organization, and mechanisms that can allow you to address grievances when they occur. So regardless of the type of institution or organization, there are certain crises that may be peculiar to that organization. So understanding the nature of your business and the nature of the conflicts or crises that are common to that organization helps you to design a tailor-made approach that can help you to address such conflicts.
Okay. Okay. That's very interesting. I'm thinking, is there a way we can help interpersonal relationship skill among staff? Maybe is there a way we can strengthen interpersonal relationship among staff at work?
Yeah, definitely. And Olabisi, just to chip in, I want to be clear. I want to be sure if my answers are not too long or not too short, so that we are,
Okay.
exactly. So I want to be sure if the answers are within the time limit that you have provided for it. Moving on to your question about interpersonal skills, I think interpersonal skills are one of the most important skills that help to limit crises in the workplace. So there's a common saying that um, I do not care what you know until I know that you care. So it's a common saying amongst people. I think organizations need to come to the understanding that when people relate more with themselves, it's going to reduce the kinds of frictions that can occur between them. So team building and team bonding, those two things, team building, which talks about capacity development of team members, and the bonding activities, they are quite important to help limit crisis in the workplace. So and that takes us to interpersonal skills, because skills like emotional intelligence, it's
Yes.
rarely talked about, but it is quite important. Emotional intelligence, understanding perspectives, understanding people's perspectives, even personality, understanding personalities of people. These are skills that, if most people are aware, it helps them to understand and read meanings to issues, and that can limit the kind of crisis in the workplace. So I would say definitely ensuring that you improve interpersonal relations or interpersonal skills of the staff, or the members of an organization. It's a sure way to help to address most of the conflict that can occur within an organization, because when you skill people up, then you prepare their minds to handle issues. So their minds are better prepared. Their mental capacity to demystify circumstances, that's also improved. So they tend not to be reactive, but they tend to understand issues and to look deeply into issues and look for most amicable ways to resolve conflict.
Wow. I know that will be helpful truly if we can practice that often. And what
Yeah.
factor can be attributed to most of the workplace crises?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, most of the crises that happen in the workplace, they come from differences in status. Some people
Okay.
are from very comfortable backgrounds. They are meeting with people that are coming from some places, and there is that disparity between them in terms of social status. And social status also accounts. Okay, so let me give you a basic example. Now you would find out, you would agree with me that sometimes the conflicts that occur within the low cadre of employment, I mean for unskilled professions, you would see that the conflicts that occur within those kind of organizations, um, conflicts occur within those organizations more. The frequency of the conflict, the nature of the conflict. So I give an example. If you go to the banking sector, now the kinds of conflicts that occur within the banking sector cannot be compared to the conflicts that occur within the NULTW sector. Now, it doesn't mean that one is prone or maybe predisposed to. I'm not making a conclusion on that. I'm just trying to say that sometimes the nature or the things that people do can also, or the level of their skills can also inform the way they manage conflicts. Okay, the way they are predisposed to conflict. So social status is part of it, and of course, the stress that we go through at work is also a contributor. So stress, a lot of times when people are stressed, when people are overloaded, when people lose confidence in the workplace, is part of the issue. So mistrust is one major issue, one major reason. Um, Social status is another one. Religious, cultural beliefs, different backgrounds that we all came from. It's another major reason. And of course, I've talked about mistrust. And again, lack of proper communication. So when issues are not promptly reported, addressed properly, then people lose trust. People lose confidence in that organization to protect their personal interest. So these are all reasons or major reasons that we can attribute conflict in the workplace.
Hmm. Wow, quite eye-opening. And how can top-down crisis be resolved where the offending party is the boss and unwilling to make the first move? I know we once mentioned something similar to that question earlier on, that how can the subordinates deal with superiors' unprofessional conduct? So in a case where we have top-down crisis and the boss is unwilling to make the first move, how do we address that situation now? Because the subordinate now, we've talked about the role she could play. So in a case where the subordinate does not have the power to do anything and the boss needs to make a move in order to maintain peace, what do you suggest can be done in that situation, sir?
So now you're saying if the boss is unwilling to make a move, and right, if the boss is the party that is unwilling, and the subordinate needs to resolve the conflict,
The
is that
power to
is that
make the peace, the power to make peace is solely on the superior, but she's not
Mhm.
willing to do it, or he is not willing to do it. She's not willing to
Okay?
make that first move. Yes.
Okay, so there could be circumstances like that where the superior is rigid and is unwilling to yield. And I think
Yes.
going back to protocols and policies is one way. So, for instance, if the policy allows that the subordinate can take the matter to someone that the superior reports to, so that, for example, that party can then call the superior and the subordinate together in a meeting to help resolve the conflicts between them. That's one way. That's a possibility. Another possibility could be that the subordinates also look for the somebody that could be trusted within the organization, maybe amidst his colleagues, to also solicit that that party can help intervene between himself or herself and the superior. Sometimes superiors have people that they also have soft spots for. So some superiors are fond of certain subordinates. So it's possible that I have a colleague and I know that my colleague has a better relationship with the superior than myself. I could invite my colleague to
Okay.
help to resolve a conflict between myself and the superior, because I know that because the superior likes that my colleague is my superiors is most likely going to listen to my colleague. So that could be an approach as well to that issue.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that
You're
answer.
welcome.
Um, and this one is a bit, we tend to overlook it that it doesn't exist in organizations, in our workplaces, but it does. How do we manage conflicts resulting from consensual office romance between two adults?
Yeah, that's another major issue, major problem. It's like you said, is rarely talked about. Office romance is a very common thing. um, there are policies that try to disallow such things, but again, some people will come from the aspect of two adults can have consensual relationship between themselves. So some people would justify the fact that even if they are colleagues, that should not stop people from getting attracted to each other or making a decision to be together, even if they are together in this, even if they work together in the same workplace. So and a lot of times we know that relationships between two people can have crisis, and when these two people work in the same organization, the effect of the crisis can cascade into the workplace. And so this is where it is important for organizations to be interested in the personal well-being of the members of their team. And I say this every time. A lot of organizations are too concerned about the workplace that they forget about the personal lives of people. Now, we need to understand that people close from work and they go to a normal life, and they come back from that normal life into the workplace. Whatever is going on in their personal life will have a cascading effect in their efficiencies and effectiveness at the workplace. And so it is important that to a reasonable extent, superiors have interests, interests that are motivated by sincere desire to ensure that people's well-being are being looked after. So this is very important. And one way to do this is to have is to encourage one-on-one meetings. So, for instance, in an organization is usually made up of different departments and units. Heads of departments and units should be encouraged to have one-on-one meetings with the people that are in their teams. These one-on-one meetings allow you to have personal interactions with people. It allows you to know what is going on in their lives in terms of their finances, in terms of their relationships, in terms of their mental health. Now, when you create this opportunity to have such interaction, you build trust, you build confidence. And so, when the issue of office romance comes up between two individuals, it is very likely that the superior of such teams would be aware, would have been made aware through those one-on-one meetings. And so when issues like that come up, it's easier for the superior to intervene in a matter that he or she has been informed about. Unlike you just notice that two people, maybe there are rumors or gossip about them being together, having a relationship together, and then the fallout. And because the fallout, it is affecting their performance, they are no longer relating well. And because they are not relating well, their work productivity is also affected. And at that time, it's too late, sort of, not too late completely, anyways, but it is late to intervene at that time. But then, one-on-one meetings allow you to know what is going on in the personal lives of your people. And so, when issue of office romance fallout comes up, it's easier for the superior to know how well to intervene because you have built trust and confidence with the parties involved in such situations.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That's interesting, sir. It's quite enjoyable that we have to look at this aspect of staff's life. Most times we tend to think you coming to work, you're an adult, you should be able to manage situations. But unfortunately, most times we can't.
Mhm.
And
Very
now,
true.
we talked
Absolutely.
about the romance between two adults. But what happens in a case whereby a party is being sexually harassed?
Oh, yeah, that's another common thing that happens, unfortunately, in the workplace. Sexual harassment is rarely talked about. most parties prefer not to have disclosure on it, especially because we also do not trust our institutions to bring justice to such matters. And so you see that it's a conflict that can develop and grow and can quickly, get out of hand when there are issues of sexual harassment in the workplace. So the first thing is to always have policy workshops for joint formulation and adoption. And what I mean by this is this: every organization should understand that allow policies are guidelines to sort of um, let people understand what is allowable and what is permissible by the organizations. And policies cannot be assumed. We cannot be in an organization and assume that people should know what they should do and know what they should not do. That assumption is always not correct. So we must always come to a point where policies guide us. And so for an organizations who do not have existing policy, what I always advise is that there should be policy formulation workshops. Policy formulation workshops allow you to have buy-ins from your team members. So you're not imposing a policy that is at conflict with their personal beliefs. You have a workshop where you discuss and design policies or frameworks that should be adopted within the organization. Doing that allows you to have buy-in from every team member and commitment to such policies. So, for instance, the issue of sexual harassment, if a policy is not in existence before, all you need to do is to call a workshop to formulate a policy on that. And the policy will be informed by people's experiences, people's knowledge, people's opinions about it. And you put this together under a facilitated workshop by someone who is experienced in such situation, guides you to formulate the policy. People adopt the policy, and then all you need to do is ensure that if there are people whose behavior is at variance with such policies, then they are punished. Because, of course, policies are meant to be kept. So if anyone has an attitude that is at variance with the policy, you set up a committee that looks into the matter, that investigate the matter. And if the resolution of the committee confirms that it was true, that the allegation of sexual harassment was true, then the party who is the victim in the situation must be punished by the organization, because justice is what builds trust. So when people know that there's going to be consequences for their actions, then everybody is meant to abide by the policies that the organization have put in place for such situations.
Wow. And okay, that actually settles it to an extent for me, though. And but in a situation where, okay, it is not sexual harassment, maybe the superior just picked on a particular person, and the relationship is now so smooth as a result of something the subordinate is not aware of. You know, it could be as a result of the social status or financial status of the subordinate. You know, so what do you think the subordinate should do in that situation?
Yeah, a lot of organizations, let me make this abundantly clear. A lot of organizations try not to encourage, so to say, um, those kind of relationships. They try to discourage relationships between two people, especially people that are mid-level to senior level or senior management level in their career. And for instance, I'm also aware that there are some organizations where two individuals that are married or engaged or in a relationship with each other cannot be at the senior management level together. So one of them must
Yeah.
resign because there could be conflict of interest. Now, all
Hmm.
of these issues are fundamentally true. And so many times there is this, and again, it behoves on a superior to understand that on the basis of morality, on the basis of moral justification or moral standing, there are certain things that a superior should not even do. Now, a superior, in most cases, should not be encouraged to even go into a relationship with a subordinate. The reason is simple: the subordinate is likely going to be influenced by the status of the person. So what I mean is that if I'm under a superior and the superior has taken interest in me to want to establish a personal relationship with me or a relationship for, so it is very likely that I have the tendency to fear or respect or be influenced by the status of that my superior. So my decision to go into that relationship may not be completely free of such things, of such influences. It could be because I know that if I say no, then I could be in trouble. um, I might lose my job if I say no. My boss might dislike me and then punish me with some other things if I say no. So a lot of things. So it is difficult to know that the intention of the subordinates will be right towards it. It could be influenced by external factors because they work together. And this is the major reason why it is discouraged or it should be discouraged at the workplace. But of course, we cannot say that we can completely, there's no law that can stop it. I mean, truly, somebody, a superior can find a subordinate, as someone that they could spend the rest of their lives with and show candid interest in such persons and they move from there. So that can truly happen. But I feel that um, superiors should be made to understand this, and the moment they want to proceed to establish anything, then the protocols and the policies within the organization should guide their attitude and their behavior so that the conflict that can occur between them do not affect the workplace productivity. I think I make this abundantly clear because it's really a common situation that we find ourselves
Honestly,
in many
yes,
organizations. Yes, it's quite
yes,
common.
yes, sir. Okay. Moving on, we're going to be looking at the organizations. Why should we be concerned? Why should organizations be concerned about the financial embarrassment of their staff? Because you know that most times, most organizations want their staff to, to have a standard, either in appearance, in a way to work
Hmm.
with. So why do you
Yeah.
think organizations are concerned? Yes.
Um, so one of the major things that gets affected when there is a problem in the organization is the image of the organization. Image, by that I mean the reputation of the organization. Financial embarrassment situation can lead to a lot of things. We've seen people who committed suicide all
Hmm.
because they got into financially embarrassing situations and they could not disclose. So that led to depression, suicidal thoughts setting, and before you know it, they commit suicide. Now, in such unfortunate incidents, the reputation of the organization will be damaged. You can imagine an organization um, coming out to own up that one of their staff had that kind of unfortunate incident, then many other people within the organization would also have fears of what could happen to them. And so it's important that organizations take interest in the financial standings of their people, of the members of their people. And what that means is that it doesn't mean you want to follow up with their finances or what they do with their finances, but to just ensure because some persons could also unnecessarily get into debt. Some persons are fond of borrowing, taking loans, take bank loans, take loans from cooperatives, take loans from friends, take loans from everyone in the workplace. So it's important that the organization takes interest. And again, this goes back to one-on-one meetings because if people have justifiable reasons for financial problems, through one-on-one meetings you would know. So let's say, for instance, a staff is dealing with sickness of a member of their family that is taking a lot of finances from him or her. It is through one-on-one
Yeah.
meetings that the superior can be made aware of such situations. So that's a justifiable reason. That's something that you would understand with. But if through one-on-one meetings you understand that this person is just the kind of person that likes to show off, that likes to live above their means, borrow money from everyone, I think organizations should be interested in knowing about those kind of financial situations so that the consequent effect of how that embarrassment, the financial embarrassment situation, can affect the life of the individual do not tarnish the image or the reputation of the organization. So basically, it's all a game of protecting reputation and also looking out for people. Looking out for people, very important. Nobody wants to lose a productive member, to situations like that. And again, it also affects productivity. So if you have a staff that goes into depression, definitely the productive drops at work. So the productivity of the staff drops, and when that drops, the general productivity of the workplace also drops. So it's all about ensuring that people's you know people are at the top of their game. Their mental health is well taken care of. They are happy doing the work they are doing. They are fulfilled, and that translates automatically to the growth and the progress of the organization.
Wow, quite enlightening. I believe viewers are watching on Facebook, and I know they're enjoying what we are tackling today. So please keep sending the questions, sending your comments in case if you have any question for our guest today. Um, so before we go to before we wrap up this section, I don't know if there's anything you want to share with us regarding all the questions we've asked so far. In educational sector, we are kind of peculiar, different from the general or different organizations, because most times in teaching you get to find more women than men. All right. So do we have
Yes.
any advice for educational sector,
Yeah. So for
schools generally? Yes, sir.
for the educational sector, and this can also be applicable to many other sectors. I think that one thing that every organizational, every educational sector or organizations within that sector should look at doing is to ensure that they encourage or promote open communication and interactions. It's so important that you allow for staff within a school to have policies open, encourage open door policies where people, for instance, this could be as simple as having a suggestion box, but not the one we put somewhere and nobody cares if anybody is dropping anything into it, but just ensuring that there is a communication line where people are encouraged to talk about issues. That's one. Also promoting one-on-one meetings that I talked about, making sure that you break the organization down into smaller units that are, somebody is heading those smaller units, and the person is encouraged to have one-on-one interaction to monitor the mental being of people within the teams. Again, I also want to talk about establishing a grievance redress mechanism. This is something that is not so common with many organizations, but I think organizations should have foresight to be able to create a GRM. GRM is grievance redress mechanism. Set up a grievance redress mechanism to say that when these kind of issues arise, this is going to be the way we are going to deal with it, and make informed decisions on those kind of things. Again, I've also talked about this, but for the point of emphasis, I think it's also very important, especially within the education sector. There should be promotion for team building and team bonding activities. When people find the workplace interesting, when they find the workplace as a place where they can, go, relax, enjoy the work they do, then the tendency for frictions will be reduced. So, creating an atmosphere within the school where people can relax. For instance, I want to go basic now. In schools, you find a lot of women. Part of the stress that most women deal with happens during pregnancy and childbirth. So, the moment women are pregnant, their hormones shoot up, and because of that, the stress level goes up. So there should be special care and attention for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Another problem is that the moment women translate to nursing mothers, their attention is divided. They are in school, but their mind is with the crèche. How is the children faring at the crèche? So schools that have the possibility or the capacity to make provision for crèche within their facility should encourage it, so that when you bring the crèche close to them, the women would be comfortable to know that my child is well taken care of and I can quickly excuse myself to go and attend to my child at any point. So these are issues that are fundamental that the schools should always be interested in talking about, in finding solutions to it, and even allowing the women to also communicate and interact with themselves. Create forums where they can have talks amongst themselves. They can look after each other. They can have a friendly environment that allows interpersonal relationships to grow and to develop. So that would be my major advice for the education sector.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Um, I would like to talk about graduates with low income family become gainfully into this conversation. I
Okay.
wonder how we can help teachers too. Yes,
Yeah. Sorry.
teachers, maybe
There was. I.
the fresh
Okay.
graduates.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you clearly. I think I lost the sound
With
at
low
some point.
income
Can you
families
repeat the
become
question?
gainfully employed.
Okay. You're talking about teachers who come
Yes,
from low income families. How
how
they
you
can.
help graduates with low income families become gainfully employed. Does that
Okay.
include teachers also?
Yes, yes, definitely. It includes teachers. It includes teachers.
Okay.
So, in Career Drive Academy, I run Career Drive Academy. We started out in 2013, and one of the things we do in Career Drive Academy is to ensure career productivity. And the only way for people to become more productive in their career is when they continue on the path of personal development. So we create opportunities for teachers, workers, career professionals to get more education, study abroad opportunities, so that they can go to other culture, learn new things, improve themselves, and when they come back, they are able to make better contribution to the economic growth and development of their community. So that's one of the things we do. We also provide career consultancy services and do trainings. So in our training facilities, we look at the soft skills, and soft skills are not just the hard skills. So we look into communication, etiquette. Etiquette issues are things that are so important. So we talk about etiquette in the workplace, etiquette in dealing with people, in interacting with people, social etiquette. We talk about social intelligence, emotional intelligence, and communication skills. We help people to develop all these skills so that they can continue to improve themselves. And basically the reason is because we target people from low income families, because low income family peoples, they are most likely going to go to schools that they could afford, and not necessarily the best of schools. So from the beginning, you could say that they had some disadvantages. So we try to target this kind of people to ensure that there are opportunities for them, and we create forums on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Telegram, where we also share lots of opportunities. So we share scholarship opportunities for people who want to pursue, advanced careers, advanced studies. We share amazing scholarship opportunities, amazing job opportunities for people. So it's all about helping people to grow in their careers, helping them to become more productive. And at some point, we also bring out, skills that can revolutionize our practice, or our careers. Let me quickly say this. For example, a lot of people feel that if you're a professional, then you don't have any business with entrepreneurship. But we need to remember that most of the guys that wrote the textbooks that we use in our schools, they were employed as teachers. So nobody say that it's not a problem that a biology teacher in a private school would study biology to a point that it would grow the desire to improve textbooks that we have currently available in markets. So imagine that we have a biology teacher who could bring out a better textbook that is more adaptable to our local culture and local system. A lot of the textbooks we rely on today, they are written by people who don't understand our context. So if someone understands our context, understands the challenges that are peculiar to us, and is able to help us design materials that are tailored to address our systems, and these are some of the things that we try to stimulate in our programs to ensure that people do much more with the opportunities that are available to them.
Wow, thank you so much for that, sir. We
You're
have some
welcome.
comment here already.
Okay.
Titi Ogungbemi, she's congratulating Seth on the 30th anniversary coming up in October. Thank you for that, Titi Ogungbemi. And I have a question here from Oshibawale Shegun. He said, should the superior at workplace be concerned about the general well-being of the staff under them?
Yes, definitely. So, like I said earlier, it's so important that superiors should be concerned, because if you neglect the well being of the staff, eventually it's going to be to the disadvantage of the organization in two major ways. You would expect that when the well being is not looked after, the staff is going to lose confidence in the ability of the organization to cater for them. So, most times, staff in organization, the monetary compensation, now meaning salaries and other perks and benefits, the monetary compensation is not the only thing that gives fulfillment. A lot of people derive fulfillment from the workplace by knowing that the workplace has a culture of caring for them, that they are important enough for, to those organizations. So when the superior takes it, brings up the practice of looking after the well-being of the staff, you ensure that whatever issues can affect them, can affect their mental health, or whatever it is dealt with and nipped at the bud. This helps them to trust the organization. So the staff members begin to have more trust in the organization, and the more trust they have in the organization, the more loyalty they display, the more commitment, the more dedication. And if they display more commitment and loyalty to the organization, of course, this is going to help to also improve the productivity in the workplace. Now, if you flip the page of the book and this is not done, you know that the mental well-being of the workers in the organization can be really affected, negatively affected. When this happens, any negative consequence of it will tarnish the image and the reputation of that organization eventually. And so it is very critical that superiors take interest in the well-being of people that are working with them.
That is actually expected. It is amazing. All right. And finally, before we go, sir, Mr. Ayodele Awi, can you give us
Yes.
practical steps that can be taken for conflict resolution in
Yeah.
organization generally?
So number one, establish an open door policies and open door, encourage communication between people, allow people to freely express their opinions, take those opinions and act on them. Very important. So create opportunities for people to know that if I have issue, this is the right way. I have to discuss this issue this way. I can express my opinion this way. I'm not going to be punished for my opinion. Again, and making sure that justice is served. So have policies. I've said it before. There should be no assumptions. Policies should be formulated to guide the behavior of people in the workplace. So encourage workshop that facilitates formulation of policies and adoption by team members. And when anybody has attitudes or behaviors that are, contradicting such policies, then those people should be punished. Again, you want to ensure that there's always an opportunity for relaxation of team members. So having opportunity to go out to the beach and relax together, having end of the year parties, just having fun, just relaxing together. That promotes, unity. That allow for team members to bond together. And that's what I meant the other time when I talked about team building and team bonding. So team bonding activities, very, very important. And of course, you establish a grievance redress mechanism to ensure that everybody understands what to do in a situation of conflict. And again, there's something I should talk about. Stress management is also very important. When people burn out, they tend to behave in a way that now begins to cause crisis in their workplace. I'm sure that many of us would agree that at some point you've worked with some people that are just tough. They are just tough people. Some people call them goated. They are goated people. They are very tough. They are very stubborn. They are difficult to work with. A lot of times it could just be because the person has an induced stress. that begins to affect the way, I mean, their disposition to work. So ensuring that we also talk about stress management at the workplace is so important. And dealing with issues that affect people or groups of people, women, taking care of women, understanding that women are very unique in the society and their challenges are also very unique, but we should take interest in those challenges and find ways to resolve those challenges for them. And of course, that doesn't mean we should also neglect the men, anyways. So the men also have their own peculiar challenges.
Wow, thank you so much for the different steps and ideas by which you can go about bringing foster peace in an organization. Now we have Okozi Loretta here. She said so much information and knowledge gained. All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Seth. So we really appreciate that our viewers have been watching and they've picked one or two things from what we have discussed today. This will help us in SEF as an organization to work peacefully, to have a peaceful working atmosphere, and likewise others that are watching us on the show today. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much, Mr. Ayodele. We enjoyed all that you have said and we have learned from you today. And we hope that when we call you next time, or we can even call you for a workshop or a seminar on how to foster peace, managing crises in our workplaces. I hope you're going to come, should in case we invite you, sir.
Definitely. I would
Thank you.
love to.
Thank you
And I
so much.
always honor such invitation.
Thank you so, so much. Thank you very much. So that will be all on Supreme Leverage for today. We thank you all for watching. Do have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.